fulfill his obligation b'di'evet because the Chazan says it and he doesn't know how. But someone who knows how, one might think, might be obligated to say it.
So again, very good. That's exactly the institution of Chazaras Hashatz. It's for an uneducated person. But now that we have the uneducated person is being covered by the Chazan repetition, so now the question is, would we say that it could also be used by the educated person because he is being motzi, he is covering somebody.
Being motzi
Person who's not,
but not.
right. I mean, you're saying because of the situation that he's not able. Right. So that's the opinion of the Chachamim. The Chachamim say that a person has to really pray himself. You have to really express your needs and pray. You need to verbally say, and you should not really be able to. Prayer is different than reading the Megillah or other things that you can just listen to someone else read the Megillah. It's called Rachamim. That's the Chachamim. But Rabbi Gamliel went on record and he said that the same way he could be motzi the ain't a bookie, the one who's not a bookie, he could be motzi the one who is.
But it's not preferable.
Right. No, but that's the question. Can he? Meaning, you might be. Can't. At the end of the day, the Chachamim would say you would not be able to fulfill your obligation by listening to the educated person will not fulfill his obligation by listening to the Chazan. But Gamliel says the Siva could be motzi the Rabbim. The Siva Ralph is joining. The Siva could cover the. So there is a question of b'di'evet if it would help or not. That's what it would seem like they have this forecast. Morning, Ralph.
Morning.
So we're on 34B, 34B3 on the left side. Kishem shesliach siba chayav. Right? So the Gemara says the following. This is going on the headline, Kishem shesliach siba chayav, kach kol yochid v'yochid. And then the other opinion says, Rabbi Gamliel says, no, the Chazan can be motzi et Rabim. So the Gemara says, if the Chazan can be motzi et Rabim, Tanya, Omer Rabbi Gamliel, the Dvarecha lo motzi bo mispalim. Morning, Simon. Why is everybody davening? Everyone's coming to shul. You have the minyan. So why, if the Chazan is motzi et Rabim, if the Chazan could be motzi, could cover the Rabim, let everyone come to shul. Everyone should just pay attention to the Chazan, and nobody should say the lachash. No one should pray by themselves, and he should be covered by the Chazan. You told me in the Mishnah that the Chazan is covering the people, the Rabbim. So Amar lo Rabbi Gamliel. So they said to Rabbi Gamliel, now, according to your opinion, why is everybody praying by themselves lachash? Meaning, according to me, the Chachamim, I understand why you have to pray by yourself, because I don't hold the Chazan to cover the people who are learned. But according to you, Lama Tzibur Mitbalin. So he says, Omar Lahem, Rabbi Gamliel said, really, they should not need to pray by themselves, but the purpose of them praying by themselves is they're going to pray by themselves. The Chazan will pray by himself at that time. And when the Chazan is praying by himself, he is getting himself ready, preparing for his repetition of the Chazara.
Can I ask you a
Yes.
question?
Yes.
If you put a minyan of only buckies, why would you do the repetition?
Right. So we because of a time that we keep them in hag, because of a time when you will not have a minyan of buckets. We keep them in hag. So the Gemara says that was his question. He says, Amar lahem, kedei lahazdir shel tzibur tfilato. We want the Chazan, we want to build into the structure a time for the Chazan to prepare himself. And how do we build in the structure for the Chazan to prepare himself? By the fact that everybody in the shul is going to be saying the Shmoneh Esrei B'Lachash. So the Chazan will also say it by quietly. And remember, they were generally doing it by heart. And therefore, he will prepare to make sure that he's going to get it right. And therefore, he will say it out loud in a proper way to be motzi properly to people who don't know. So it comes out that everybody in the shul technically could have fulfilled their obligation by listening to the Chazan, but we tell them don't fulfill your obligation by listening to Chazan, rather fulfill your obligation by saying it yourself, because there's an added benefit that's going to happen by the fact that we're all saying it balachash. We're giving the Chazan time to prepare himself to do a proper job as the Chazan to be motzi the people who don't know.
I would say it one more way. In addition to the Chazan, everyone else who's in the congregation can be preparing himself or herself. And ultimately, when you do the repetition, even the people in the congregation can be joining the Chazan by saying Amen and whatever, and thus helping to cover all the people who don't know how to pray. So that there could almost be a secondary effect of everyone praying quietly, that they know how to pray, preparing themselves to give a more fierce Amen to the out loud prayer.
Right, but they could do a fierce amen by listening. If they would just listen to the Chazan,
Yes, then we want the Chazan to prepare.
you want them. They should
prepare.
They
To be in the mode.
Interesting. Okay, but the Gemara does not. The Gemara doesn't say that. But it's a good thought. You should know. By the way, we find a similar interesting halacha by Mayim Achronim. By Mayim Achronim, that you go ahead and you start. If let's say what I recall, it says if you have 5 or less people at a meal to do Mayim Achronim, you give the one who's leading in the Birkat HaMazon the Mayim Achronim first. Why? To give him time to get ready to prepare himself for the Birkat HaMazon, for the leading the Zimun. More than 5, what I recall it says, you can start from anybody, but when you get to 5, because I think then it's not so respectful that the leader should have to wait so long. You have 25 people, he's waiting, he does first. But then when you get to 5, I think then it says you would go to him. That's what I recall. If you want, we can look up that halacha.
Although that would increase the time between his Mayim Achronim and the Shir Malot.
Yeah, he does share a malot, and then Mayim Achronim is after the share malot, right? Mayim Achronim is after share malot.
Really?
Yes.
It's not before Shir Malot?
No.
So you have to do Shir Malot and then wash?
Right. That's the common thought.
I've been doing it wrong.
I don't know about what I started in.
No, but I've been doing it wrong, Ashkenaz.
Yeah. You would do share malot, and then we say Mayim Achronim, then we do Mayim Achronim.
Ah, okay, thank you.
No problem.
Learn something new every day.
Every day, 100%. So we will get out the laws of Mayim Achronim. Din Mayim Achronim. Kuf Pei Hey. Kuf Pei Aleph. So it says like this about Mayim Achronim. As we all know, Sfardim, the Shulchan Aruch says, the Chaber Shulchan Aruch says, Mayim Achronim Chova. Washing your hands before you do Birkat HaMazon is an obligation for the Sfardim for sure. At least, but the Ashkenazim, some of them are a little bit more lenient, as long as your hands are pretty clean. Some of them are more lenient. But the Shulchan Aruch says, let's see. Yeah, but let's see. I should talk about what I said about the 5 people. Okay, in this siman, he doesn't talk about it. I'm gonna say, oh, here we go. Here it is. It is. It says, Im HaMesubim Rabim. If the amount of people that are sitting at the meal are many, up to 5, you start from the Mevarech. You give the one who's leading, you give him the Mayim Achronim first. And if there are more, you start from the Katan. The Katan would mean the Rashi, the Mishabur says the one who's sitting at the end of the seating, because we don't want the Mevarech to wait so long after he washes his hands. Right. He says both things. He says 2 points. He says, number one, we don't want the one who's leading to wait so long after he washes his hands until everybody washes hands. It's not respectful for him to wait. And also, Chavetz Chaim says both also that interruption, the long wait. That's what the Mishabur brings that second. Now then he says, then the Mishabur says, but today that everybody, we have to see everybody does the Birkat Hamazon. I mean, in those days, it used to be that the leader would say the Birkat Hamazon for everybody, right? But today, that everybody does the Birkat Hamazon. The leader, if the leader has a delay and everybody else has a delay, it's the same. It's everybody having that delay. But maybe we have to be more concerned of the one who's leading, because at the end of the day, he's still leading the Birkat Hamazon. So therefore, we're going to give him more preference and more honor, and make less of a hefsek for him, to be more honorable for him. That's what now. So, and Mishabura says, in order that he should, why do we start from the leader? In order he should look into the 4 brachot of the Birkat Hamazon, and during the time that the other people are washing their mayim achronim, he already washed, and he's going to be focusing on getting ready. Even though today the minhag is everybody says the Birkat Hamazon, and you don't listen to it's not that he's not different than anybody else in the way they recite the Birkat Hamazon, but he is different. He is leading the Birkat Hamazon. Maybe he needs to prepare the leading of the Zimun. But the Chavetz Chaim says that the law didn't change. Also today, and also he said, like I said, you also have to focus on the Zimun. You're preparing the Zimun, you want to give the leader. And by the way, a lot of people, when they lead in Zimun, sometimes they don't do it right. What do I mean? Sometimes when you have a Zimun of 10, they don't say, they forget Elokeinu, they catch themselves. And also, very important by Zimun, it's the leader says, Nivarech, let us, it's not Mivarech. People have to be careful when you're leading a Zimun, you call out, you say, Nivarech, Nivarech Shachana Mishlo. It's to be careful. Now, I've seen people with a nun, the leader. No, then people say, Baruch Shachana Mishlo, Tzvachina. But it's not Mivarech Shacham. It's because you're calling out. So that it's more the language Nivarech. People have to be careful in the language. Okay, good morning, Adam. Okay, so that's in life we need time to prepare for ourselves for certain things. Okay, so get back to our Gemara, but that's an amazing thing that according to this, in order to enable that the Chazan should do a proper job, to have a built-in time that he's going to prepare, we get everybody to say the lachash, the quiet amidah by themselves, not just listening to the Chazan. Now, even today, by the way, practically, even if you would be able to fulfill your by listening to the Chazan, we have an issue of time focusing and listening from the beginning to the end. Again, we hold, let's say, if you're a baki, if you learn it, you're not supposed to, you can't listen to the Chazan. But today we also know that independent, you have to say it yourself. But even if you would be able to listen to the Chazan, technically, hear the Chazan and say, I fulfill my obligation, but we all know our attention span is not so good. So to listen and pay attention from the beginning to end is a very hard thing. So it works out anyways good that we're all saying it morning ourselves. We're all saying it ourselves. So the Gemara says the following. We are on 34b3 on the bottom of the page. So the Gemara says, Amalem Rav Gamliel. Rav Gamliel says to the Chachamim, L'divreichem, according to you, why is it that the Chazan, you who say that everybody has to pray, so lama sibur yored lifnei teva? Why does the Chazan have to go in front of the community? What do we need the Chazan saying the Amidah at all? Repeat the Chazara if everybody has to say their Chazara, their own quiet lachash, private shmonesrei. Now, I want to say this is a setup question. Sometimes you ask a question, but you're really setting the person up. We all know the answer to the question. Everybody knows. Rabbi Gamliel knows the reason why the Chazan says it out loud is to cover the person who is not learned. So what's he asking the Chacham? Why is the Chazan doing Chazar? Because he wants to get to the next point. This is how I would understand the Gemara. He said like this. Rabbi Gamliel says the Chachamim. He says, according to you, that every person has to pray. He cannot feel his obligation to listen to Chazan. So why is the Chazan going ahead and leading the? Why need the Chazan doing Chazara? Everybody has to say. Everyone has to pray. Be careful, Mr. Haber. Everyone has to pray. So what do you need? What's the point of the Chazan repeating? So the rabbis say, what do you mean? Amrullah. They have to pray. You know why you need the Chazan Adam upstairs praying? Not for you, but for a guy who walks into shul, can't pray. He's coming to cover him. So that's then he shoots back on Malhem. So you see, the Chazan could cover someone. The same, if his davening could cover that guy, he could cover me too. Cover the educated person also. That was the setup. On Malhem, the shame to motzi et mishein baki kach motzi et baki. The same way, if you say that someone who's not fluent, someone who can't read the Hebrew, could fulfill his obligation by listening to the Chazan, so you agree that this is similar to other brachot that someone could be motzi. I could say, I'm motzi lechem and aretz for you. You could say it for me. We sit down at a Friday table. We come to a kiddush. Somebody says kiddush. It covers everybody else. Kiddush is a mitzvah. You listen. You got credit. This Rabbi Gamliel's position. So too, if that's the case, so they don't feel that you should make a difference between someone who's fluent and someone who's not fluent. However, the Chachamim hold that prayer is different. Prayer is unique. The prayer is where you're asking for something, what you need, and because of that, you should have to go ahead and ask it yourself if you're capable.
Sometimes can't know what you need.
Right, that's true. But even if you're going to say exactly what the Chazan says, and you didn't really add morning to what the Chazan said, but it's still something of that you should really personally say. So that's the Gemara piece of the Gemara. The Gemara continues. Amar Rabbi Bar Chana Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Bar Chana says in the name of Rabbi Yochanan. Mr. Hebel, would you want a hard copy? Okay. Amar Rabbi Bar Chana Rabbi Yochanan. His name Rabbi Yochanan. Modim Chachamim l'Gamliel. He says that after there was this dispute, what was the argument? Whether the Chazan could cover someone who is fluent, someone who knows how to read the prayers. He knows the prayers because the Chazan, and the person says, you know what, it'll be a little easier for me. In one area, great to see you. The guy says, it'll be a little easier for me today if I just sit back and listen to the Chazan. Instead of me praying myself the 19 brachot in the Amidah, I'll sit back and I'll listen to the Chazan. So if a person says that, would he be able to do that? Would he be able to get credit? So Rabbi Gamliel said, yes, you could do that. So comes the Gemara and says, at the end, and the Chacham said you can't do that. But we have a report in the name of Rabbi Yochanan that the Chachamim changed their position. They said that technically you could come into synagogue, and even if you're fluent, you know how to read, you could sit back and fulfill your obligation of prayer by just listening to the Chazan. Everybody. It doesn't make a difference whether you know it by heart, you don't know it, you're fluent, you're not fluent. You can walk into the shul and you could just listen. That the Chachamim changed their mind. Again, we're going to see that you don't need to do your, according to this opinion, again, in practice, we don't hold this way. Practice, everybody got to do their private prayer. If you know how to pray, no one should walk out of the class, say, okay, I don't have to say anything upstairs, just listen to Chazan. No, you got to do your own prayer. But this is a discussion here in the Gemara, Ralph, right? Whether I could just come into the synagogue and listen to the Chazan, even though I know how to pray. Ariel, you hear the question? You know how to pray. The uneducated Jew walks in, he doesn't know how to pray, but he gets covered by the Chazan. Can I be covered also by the Chazan? I'm listening also. I'm supposed to be paying attention to the Chazara also. Even when I pray by myself, I have to listen to the Chazara. Which is that's another reason why cell phone use during Chazarat Hashatz is supposed to be banned, because you're not strong word banned, right? But we're supposed to be banned during the Chazara because you're not. How are people paying attention properly to the Chazarat Hashatz if people are on the phones? By the way, it's a bad thing. It's become acceptable in many places. People to take out phones during Chazarat Hashatz. It's halachically problematic. I don't see. If you're a doctor maybe and you have taking care of patients and they need your help, you're a Hashana member, fine, take out the phone, be available. But I don't know. I don't think everybody's a doctor, and I don't think so. So obviously you have to give someone the benefit of the doubt. But I think a lot of times people don't realize that they're doing something wrong. People don't know. We're learning. They're uneducated at this point. So therefore, we have to know an additional reason why we're not supposed to have a cell phone out during Chazarah is because we're supposed to. Besides, it's not respectful to the prayers. Where's the kavod? Kavod for the synagogue, for the prayers. I'm taking my phone out during the Chazarah. Where's the kavod? But independent of that, we have responsibility to listen to the Chazan. But if you don't have at least 10 people listen to the Chazan, then it might be a bracha levatala. And the Chazan's brachot might be all in vain. At least to listen to the Chazara. But that could be also to answer. It's a good point. Maybe people are supposed to be answering to the Chazan. It could be also to answer. He's saying the brachot. We're supposed to be saying amen to the brachot. Now, so we have a report in the name of Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan is a later rabbi who says the rabbis changed their mind. Because rabbis, as you know, they're honest. And if they feel that whatever they felt, they had an opinion last year one way, but this year they changed their mind, they'll change their mind. It's not like politicians in Washington that most of them don't, that they change their mind, many of them, because they have political reasons why they change their mind. They have, for popularity or whatever. The rabbis that change their mind because they're interested in the truth. So if they feel that, yes, you have in the Gemara, so Beit Hillel change his mind, be like Beit Shammai. The fact that I held one way last year doesn't mean if I see it this way, if I came to a different understanding, I'll change my mind. It doesn't happen so often, but it happens. But it's all about emet. So he understood that the rabbis changed their mind and conceded to Rabbi Gamliel that technically you could fulfill your obligation whether you are knowledgeable, know how to read, don't know how to pray, but just listen to the Chazan. However, Rav says, no, that's not correct. The rabbis, adayin hi machloket. The rabbis never changed their opinion. They still hold that a person who knows how to pray cannot fulfill his responsibility by just listening to the Chazan. You got to be more involved, more actively involved in your prayer if you're capable of praying, right? You're capable of praying, you got to be involved. You got to say it yourself. Shama Rabbi Chia b'rei de Rabbi Nachmani. Rabbi Chia heard the words of Rabbi Hashana that said that in the name of Rabbi Yochanan that the rabbi changed their mind. Now that's a big deal. That would be a big halachic ramifications. Azal amra l'shmaita kamei de Rav Dimi b'chinana. So he told, you know what? We have our colleague or some Rabbi Hashana said name Rabbi Yochanan that the Chacham rabbis changed their opinion. So Amalei, so Rav Dimi told them, Hachi Amarav. Rav said, that's not so. Adayin hi machloket. They're still arguing. The rabbis did not concede to Rabbi Gamliel. Amalei, as Rav Chia says to Rav Dimi, I want you to know, Rabbi Hashana, even Rabbi Hashana, who reported in the name of Rabbi Yochanan that the rabbis changed their mind, he also admitted that, Rabbi Hashana said, Rabbi Yochanan said the rabbi changed their mind, but Rabbi Hashana also said that there's another rabbi said that he did not change his mind. When Rabbi Yochanan came and said that the rabbis changed their mind and said you can fulfill your obligation by listening to the Chazan, even if you're educated, iflig Reish Lakish. Reish Lakish argued. Reish Lakish, as you know, was the brother-in-law of Rabbi Yochanan, and he does many arguments with Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish, like you have Beit Shammai, Beit Hillel, Abaye, Barava. It's Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish, brother-in-laws. That's where brother-in-laws could argue. It's a nice place to argue on Torah opinions. And he says that it's still a machloket. There's still an argument. The rabbis did not concede. You should know there's a famous Gemara. I've heard Rav David Feinstein's Zechat Tzaddik Levracha, whose yahrzeit was last week, or Moshe Feinstein's eldest son, say over this. Then when Reish Lakish passed away, Rabbi Yochanan found life very difficult. Because whenever Rabbi Yochanan would say something, many times, Reish Lakish would challenge him. He would bring questions from all over places. And you know what Rabbi Yochanan would do? He would answer all the questions, because by the fact that you asked me, Rabbi Yochanan said a law, let's say in Birkat HaMazon, Rabbi Yochanan said a halacha. And then Reish Lakish would challenge him from shofar, let's say. Rabbi Yochanan would come up with it to explain there's a distinction between shofar and Birkat HaMazon. Now, because you asked me the question, I was able to figure out new ideas to understand distinctions that I might not have thought about unless you pushed me into the wall. You asked me a question, you challenged my law, because you showed me some other similar case that did not have that law, and you forced me to go ahead and explain it. So I came up with a new chidush, with a new idea, new understanding in different different areas. But when Reish Lakish passed away, what happened was Rabbi Yochanan would say a law, and the rabbis that were there, the younger people would ever say, we have a support for you. I have a support. No one challenged him. Because no one challenged him, he felt like he was not growing in his learning and seeing it in a better, clearer way. And he found it very difficult. And Rabbi Feinstein said, I think he connected this with marriage. The Torah says a person should, Hashem says, I make an Ezek Kenegdo. An Ezek Kenegdo is a helpmate that's Kenegdo, opposing you. So the Gemara says, what do you mean opposing? You want a helpmate, a wife should be against you? You want a wife that should be on the same page. So the Gemara says, if you're married, she'll be an Ezek, she'll be a help for you. If you don't marry, then she'll be against you. But Rabbi Feinstein says, but the literal translation of pasuk is she's kenegdo, she's against you. The little simple meaning of the pasuk. So you can explain the little meaning of the pasuk is that when you look for a woman, he said, if she has her own mind, not everything you say she says yes. She tells you, she shows you another idea, a different viewpoint, and then you go ahead and you discuss it together, and then you come out with a different understanding, a different picture of something that she's adding to you. That's Ezek. So therefore, that's a very good comfort for all the men that have a wife that sometimes doesn't see everything exactly the way you say. You should appreciate it more because she's giving you some other perspective, and then you could go together and discuss it. Okay, that's a nice point. Now, the Gemara says, "Mi Amar Rabbi Yochanan Hachi." The Gemara said, "Did Rabbi Yochanan were on the bottom of 34b3? Did Rabbi Yochanan say that there's no argument between Rabbi Gamliel and the Chachamim?" Rabbi Yochanan went on record. You're telling me you're reporting. We have a report. Rabbi Bachana, in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, that the name of Rabbi Yochanan, that the rabbis conceded that you even if you're educated and you know how to pray, you can listen to the Chazan, technically you can fulfill your obligation. For Amar Rav Chana Sipora, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Bachana Sipora said it, meaning, and the only reason why technically you're not saying it by yourself, but listen to the Chazan, is like according to the Rabbi Gamliel, is you want to give the Chazan an opportunity to go ahead and organize his tefillah. So really, according to Rabbi Gamliel, everyone could technically fulfill their obligation by listening to Chazan, but the reason why we don't do it that way is because we want to give opportunity for the Chazan to organize his prayer, and therefore everybody will go ahead and pray their own private prayer. But let's say Tosfos points out, good morning, he brings from the Bahag that according to the opinion of Rabbi Gamliel, so Rabbi, at the end of the day, what's the difference? If you're learned, the Chacham say you have to pray because you cannot be covered by the Chazan. And even Rabbi Gamliel, who says that you could be covered by the Chazan, we still pray. The learned person still prays his private Amidah in order to give time for the Chazan to prepare his Amidah that he needs to say out loud. So what's the practical difference between those opinions if at the end of the day we're all praying quietly? But the practical difference will be, Tosfos says, let's say you missed Ya'aleh V'Yavo. You missed Ya'aleh V'Yavo, let's say Shachrit on Rosh Chodesh. Next week is Rosh Chodesh, right? What, Sunday and Monday? Those are the 2 days of Rosh Chodesh, everybody? It's Sunday and Monday is Sunday. Okay, so Sunday and Monday is Rosh Chodesh. Shachrit and Mincha, if you forget Ya'aleh V'Yavo, at night, if you forget Ya'aleh V'Yavo at night of Rosh Chodesh, you don't repeat the Amidah. I think yeah, but it doesn't, even the second night. We're gonna go through it and we'll look at it again. But the first night, the second night of Rosh Chodesh, you forgot Ya'aleh V'Yavo, you do not repeat the Amidah. Because they did not proclaim Rosh Chodesh at night, they only proclaim Rosh Chodesh by day. But if you forgot by Shachrit or Mincha, what's the law? You have to repeat the Amidah. Repeat the whole thing. If you got Ya'aleh V'Yavo, Shachrit, you have to repeat. But according to the opinion of Rabbi Gamliel, that the Chazan could technically cover you, so the Bahag said that if a person, an individual, forgot and he did not miss Rosh Chodesh, he could technically have a mind and listen to the Chazan's repetition from the beginning to the end and be covered with because he's, even though you know how to pray, Rabbi Gamliel said you technically could be covered with the Chazan's repetition. The only reason why you do not, you pray by yourself is to give the Chazan time. But you already gave the Chazan time. Everybody already prayed quietly. Now the Chazan is repeating the Amidah. So the Bahag says, just listen to the Chazan from the beginning to the end. Now, we don't hold that way. I would say one reason we won't hold that way is because it's very hard to focus your attention from the beginning to the end, as if you said every word. But also that we have to look more into this halacha. But the only way you would be able to do that if you would actually hold like Rabbi Gamliel in practice, that an educated person that could fulfill his obligation by listening to the Chazan, which I would doubt that we hold that way. So this needs to be a little bit researched a little more. But that's that is a little bit interesting case that could come out based on our Gemara. But at the end of the day, like I said, we would not listen. We would tell the person to say over. Practically, we would tell the person, if you've missed Ya'aleh V'Yavo by Shachrit and you caught yourself, I would say we would, even though the Chazan did not start his Chazarah, we would still say you should go ahead and repeat the Amidah, not just rely on the Chazan's repetition. So, continuing in the Gemara, so the Gemara says, "Did Rabbi Yochanan now? Did Rabbi Yochanan say such a thing that the rabbis conceded to Rabbi Gamliel that you could listen to the Chazan and fulfill your obligation? We have a statement that Rabbi Yochanan said that the law follows Rabbi Gamliel. Now, if you tell me the law follows Rabbi Gamliel, that means there's an argument. If I tell you the law follows Rav Moshe Feinstein in this case, what does it sound like? Not everybody agrees with him. If it's a universal, it's not Rav Moshe Feinstein, it's everybody. If I tell you the law follows Rabbi Gamliel, it sounds like that this law is under dispute. But I got to tell you, the law follows his opinion. So if it's true that Rabbi Yochanan held Rabbi Gamliel, that the rabbis conceded to Rabbi Gamliel, why would he go on record the law follows Rabbi Gamliel? It's not only Rabbi Gamliel holds that way, the Chacham also hold that way. That's the Gemara's question, and we'll see tomorrow, to be continued tomorrow. Everyone, please save your calendar for December 5th, everybody. Thank you very much. 6:30, yes. Right here.